Hello, my dear students of 9. This is a chapter called as Business Activities, chapter 2 in your textbook that we are going to take up. Now, as in the previous chapter, we have already well discussed what does business mean, its various features which have been covered in the definition itself, like sale, transfer, exchange of goods. It is an occupation. It comprises wide range of activity. There are so many examples like processed by man, machine, purpose. The purpose of business is earning money. There is risk involved, and people do carry out business activities in order to earn livelihood, right? It is one of the forms of economic activities. Now that has been discussed as a part of definition here too, and so comprising the first two paragraphs, we'll be forming up the definition and incorporating an example. Characteristics like sale, transfer or exchange, dealing in goods and services, and regular dealings, profit motive. Till here I think we've discussed elaborately in the first chapter only. Creation of utilities, I would just like to add, we'll be discussing with time utility, place utility, form utility, and possession utility. Now time utility, as it says, it would be sending the correct goods at the right time to a consumer. So when you get winter clothes to be available to you during November, December, when there's cold all around. Place utility is a right thing at the right place. And like I'd given you an example, tea and coffee growing in only in the hilly regions, northeast and down south, but that entire India consumes that, isn't it? Form utility, like a piece of board transformed into a chair where you can sit comfortably. Possession utility, like the textbook is still in the market, is not in your hands. So once you get that, it will yield possession utility to you because you'll be the owner of it. You will be possessing your own textbooks, isn't it, for class 9. Next comes economic activity. There, elaborately in the first chapter, there were 3 reasons: using scarce resources, earning profit, using economic resources. All these reasons being leading to the fact that business is an economic activity, and of course, the last one being risk. Now, here in this chapter, furthermore, we'll be dealing about what are the types of business activities. Like economic activities was divided into business and profession and employment. Further, business will be divided into industry and commerce. Now you can see that flow chart given to you on page number 13. So that is fine. That is, we'll be discussing that in elaborate while we are doing our online classes. So as of now, there's no point that I put in my resources here. What I'll ask you to do is come to the next topic, 2.4, which says nature and types of industry. So first and foremost, in short, industry is the production unit, okay? And then we have the by classification of that, okay? Production unit means where the goods are being used, where the goods are being when I say use, means the capital goods being used. And why do we use them? We use them to produce consumer goods. Next we have the classification. So there are 4 main classifications: generic industry, extractive industry, manufacturing, and construction. Genetic, where you are using genes of plants and animals to be reproduced further, like it could be poultry farms, it could be cattle breeding. As far as plant genes are concerned, it could be a nursery, it could be horticulture garden, where you're producing furthermore generations of plants and animals for commercial purposes, right? Extractive industry, obviously, where you are extracting natural resources. So it could be mining, quarrying, fishing, forestry, where nature has kept its resources and you're extracting that for commercial purposes, right? And as we carry forward with our online class, they will be discussing the features of these in detail. Next we have got manufacturing industries, where you are manufacturing. So how do you manufacture? You collaborate the raw materials, you bring in the raw materials, you process, and then you produce finished goods. Same thing over here. It has got 4 types: analytical, synthetical, processing, and assembling. Analytical, where basic raw material broken into parts, right? So crude oil into kerosene, petrol, etc. Synthetical industry, where 2 or more materials are mixed to form new product, like you've got concrete, gypsum, coal combining together to be formed as cement, right? Please take up these examples. They are correct examples which are there in the book, so nothing to worry. You have that written. It's just that you have to understand and learn. Processing, a material is being processed through various stages, and this is very simple. Like say in a confectionery industry where so many raw materials are baked into cake. I know it's mouth-watering. We all must be feeling hungry or trying to grab in a piece of cake. But then, how is a cake made? Of course, through various processes involved, right? Assembling. In this type of industry, manufactured components or parts are come. So where you're not producing an entire piece of commodity, not a finished one, but all those small parts which are added on to become something bigger, like a tire, the windscreen, the seats, right? Various parts of automobiles, they are being produced separately and then brought in together in an automobile factory, and then a car is made. So that's assembling. The last one is construction. Now construction, pretty simple. Constructing bridges, dams, roads, big multi-story buildings, projects, dwelling projects, all these will be coming under construction industry. Okay. Apart from that, there are other certain secondary bases of classification also, like we categorize as primary and secondary industries. We categorize as large scale, medium scale and small scale industries. We also categorize as heavy and light industries. We'll be taking up with examples definitely while in our online discussion, right, when we are once more wrapping up the chapter. Second is commerce. Now what is commerce? Like industry produces for the business. Now only production will not help now. That will remain with the producer until unless it reaches the consumer. Of course a business will not be fulfilled, isn't it? So the first part is taken care by industry. Commerce will be taking up the second part. What is commerce? It ensures distribution of goods and services correctly, properly into the hands of the consumer, whoever requires whatever amount of commodity, whatever type of commodity, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now importance of commerce. Of course we'll be combining the first two definitions, and I'll let you know which are the most important key phrases that we are going to mark while we are doing the topic. Importance of commerce. Importance of commerce, you can also mark it, write it like functions, significance, nothing to worry. Again, I'll point out the same thing when we are doing the class online, right? Importance of commerce. Now, another popular language that is generally served for this particular topic is like, what are the hindrances? Those are solved by commerce. Which are the hindrances that are overcome by commerce? Hindrances mean problems, and commerce overcome those problems, right? So we'll be learning about overcoming them, but first let us, what are the problems? Hindrance of person, where people don't know only each other. A buyer doesn't know the seller doesn't know the buyer. So what should be the solution? Solution is a marketplace, whether it is a physical market, whether it's an online market, whether it's a broker bringing in together the producer and the consumer, seller and the buyer. So that work is done by commerce. Hindrance of place, goods are lying in one place, produced in one place, it has to reach to the consumer's place. Who will cover that up? Definitely, I'm sure all of you guys the answer, through proper transportation. So whether those are trains or aeroplanes or road transport, water transport, inland water transport, or whatever, consumers will be getting the commodity. The goods are being shifted from one place to another. Hindrance of time. What is that? You produce at one time, but you need to consume in another time. What about that time gap? Who's going to manage that? We need the help of a warehouse. Colloquially, what do we call a warehouse to be? A go down. I'm sure you must have heard people saying, things are lying in go down. I have stock in my go down. So why do you keep stock in the go down? Why do businessmen stock up things in the go down? So that when the right time comes, they can circulate those commodities in the market. Hindrances of risk. See, all businessmen are very worried now. Their money is invested into the business. What happens if something happens naturally or unnaturally? Of course, for natural disasters, we don't have anything in our control. Like presently, you can see what's happening all around because of the pandemic. That's not in our control. We should be having a coverage for that. But what about man-made problems? What about if I have a not so honest employee in my organization? Then who's going to save me financially? Insurance companies come in, right? So we have a risk coverage. Insurance, I will be taking up details when we do the class so that all doubts are further clear. Hindrance of exchange. How will you exchange? Why will the seller sell to you? How will you buy? Common medium, money. And if you don't have money, who will intervene? Of course, you can take the help from financial institutions and banks. Last hindrance of knowledge. I don't know, only so many options of pens are available in the market. Which pen to buy? Which one will be, fulfilling my demand? Advertisement, right? Advertisement would be that right path of knowledge. Of course, there are advertisements which lure you, which may not be giving you full information, but as far as most of the advertisements are concerned, those are right, those are correct, and they guide us in order to deciding. So these are the hindrances. We come to now see economic activities into business, profession and employment, and further business into industry and commerce. Now further commerce also is divided into trade and aids to trade, right? So first and foremost, trade means definitely in one simple sentence, exchange of goods and services for money. Now you can have two different types of trade, internal and external trade. Internal, wholesaler. Internal will be wholesaler, where goods are sold into bulk quantity, and retailer, all the retailers who are there in and around us selling individual commodities as and how we require as consumers. External trade will be import, export, export. Import we all know, buying from other country. Export we all know, selling to other country, right? Entry port. As of now, I can tell you it is buying from one other foreign country and selling to another foreign country, right? Not for self-consumption. I will be taking up entry port in detail when we are doing our online class. Next one is aids to trade. So what are the various type aids to trade? That's the second classification of commerce. First and foremost, what are aids to trade? Help for commercial activities, also supportive actions that actually make commerce to be commerce. Now, if you remember, while we were doing hindrances, I talked about transportation, warehousing, bank, insurance, advertising. All these are now the solutions for our hindrances. In other words, these are aids to trade. Along with the last thing added, that's packing. What's packing? When you want to keep your goods protected, when you want to keep your goods attractive, that's packing. Okay? Now, the next topic is interrelationship between trade, commerce and industry. Now, see, that is being written in 3 points, so you can go through that. One, trade, commerce, industry. Trade, commerce, industry will be industry produces, right? Commerce tries to sell. Trade removes all those problems that come in the way of commerce. So all three are interdependent. There's a figure required to be supported with, that's there in your book, and when I deal up the topic for your further clarifications and clearing the doubts in there, I will be discussing that figure also. In your book, very nicely, they've given the comparison between industry, trade and commerce. So based on the features, we have the comparison. And just to wrap up our lesson, while in the class, I will be taking up those points where you face difficulty. Otherwise, it all depends on the features that have already been discussed in detail. And the last topic is organization, firm and company. What's an organization? Any organization that works with a group of people, whether for profit motive or not for profit motive, it's an organization. So where an office is an organization, a charitable trust, a club, a school, a nursing home, hospital are also organizations, right? What is a firm? Definitely a business unit which puts in money, there are owners, they take risk and they carry out business, so that's a firm. Final thing, then what is a company? What's the difference? Company is, it could be private or it could be public, means it could be made up by government. Company is where you contribute money in the form of capital, and you've got shares. What are shares? Parts of ownership. So you've got those shares in your possession, like you've heard about share market. I will be discussing company in detail at your age in class 9. Whatever knowledge you need to know about company, in short, that's well given in your book, and which lines and which phrases to take, we will be discussing that. So I conclude over here, and we'll be wrapping up the chapter when we do our class, right? Thank you everyone.